Well, hello and welcome to PM Personality Profile. My name is Nana Ansakwa, the fourth. And as I do every Friday and on your Saturdays, I bring you a wonderful personality. We share their story, we get inspiration from them, and we advise ourselves not to tread the same path. However, on the 8th of March is International Women's Day. So who do I bring you this weekend? Well, very fantastic woman who has championed her own cause in her own small way, doing good for Mother Ghana and women. She is the programs coordinator for Peasant Farmers Association, and she is a farmer herself. Folks, when we come back from the break, I bring you Victoria Adongo. Don't move. Well, thank you very much for staying. And as I said, yep, I'm here with Victoria Adongo, who's the programs coordinator for Peasant Farmers Association. And indeed, this year's theme for International Women's Day is about the rural woman. And one would ask, what is it about the rural woman and, how much they contribute to the economy? You will be amazed. The percentage of every food that you take in, a huge percentage, is thanks to the rural woman. And this lady, in her own way, is coordinating their affairs. Victoria, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And we are glad we actually, barged into her office and pleaded and get her out of the office so that she shares a moment with us. So we are grateful.
Thank you and for the opportunity. And I am saying hello to the viewers.
Great. Now, Victoria, a little bit, it tells me that you were born in Accra, but you didn't grow up in Accra.
No.
Me, I'm here to be inquisitive. So where was growing up?
I was born here in Accra.
Okay.
Because my father was a cook.
Okay.
And he used to cook for the colonial men at the time. So he was here, and I was born here.
Good. So how did you move to Tamale?
Yeah, my father thought that this was not home for him.
Oh.
It was about time to go back to where he came from. So he moved to Tamale in the northern region. So I grew up there. I was still very young when he moved there. I grew up there, and most of my siblings, almost all my siblings were born there.
Okay. But was Daddy educated, if I may ask?
Sorry?
Was your father educated?
No. My father was an illiterate, and my mother too. They were both illiterates.
See, I get inspired when, children from illiterate parents, but they are forced through school, because I'll go through your educational, credentials in a minute, and it's all the way up there to the top. Who pushed you through education?
My father. My father, even though he had never been to school, but he was so inspiring.
Wow.
And he kept saying that it didn't matter whether you were, the firstborn in the family was a boy.
Okay.
And I am second in the line. And he kept saying that it really didn't matter whether you were a girl or a boy. You could reach any height that you wanted.
Wow.
And I think he got that from working with the white colonial masters.
Mm-hmm.
They came, they were the British.
Yeah.
I think they were British, So, he just observed that, well, education was something that was good. So, yeah, he tried very hard. He didn't have money, but he tried very hard to educate all his children. Yeah.
See, because back then, like you were pointing out, education for girls was not very, very, paramount then.
No, not at all. Not at all. So we, those who were lucky to go further in education, were admired at the time. Those of us who were able to go to sixth form, at the time, they thought that, yeah, for a girl to reach that, even to the university. At that time there were women too were in the university, but I think it was something that was greatly admired, that women could go that far. Yeah.
I mean, I know particularly in the north there was that big challenge where the focus would be very, very done towards the men and rather than the women. I just wondering, like after school when you came and you were playing, did you have like friends who were thinking, hey, so you've gone to school and you're back, or all your friends then were also in school?
Well, where I grew up in Tamale, it's a very small community in the outskirts of Tamale town itself. Yeah, we were there. I'm a Frafra.
Okay.
I'm from the Upper East. And our neighbors are all the Gomez, and at the time, education for a woman at the time among the area, the community that I came wasn't important for them. And in fact, that was the time that early marriages were arranged and all that. So, and then we were different, like my father, my family, we were different because we didn't belong to the Dagbon tribe. But my father was one of the very early settlers in the community. So they had respect for us. And yeah, I had friends in the neighborhood, girls who were not going to school. But yeah, we went along together. But there were others too that I started primary school with them all the way to secondary school in the same community. They were also, women. Yeah, but most of them dropped out of school somehow. Some of us pursued, yeah.
Which was the last certificate you showed your dad?
Sorry?
Which was the last certificate you were able to show your dad?
Unfortunately, it was my A-levels.
Okay.
He died quite early, And I didn't go to university straight from sixth form. No. I did not pursue that way.
But before we do the imaging, how proud was he when you finished your A-level?
Even when I qualified to go to a secondary school, he was so happy. I didn't go through the normal, that time they were sitting, you go and sit entrance exam. I didn't go through that. Okay. Yeah, because I was so intelligent, humbly, that I skipped from 1 and 2.
Wow.
So I went to secondary school from, actually I went to secondary school from Form 1. That time you used to sit the entrance from Form 2. You sit the common entrance. But I didn't get to Form 2. I was in Form 1, and there was this Catholic Reverend Father who identified me. He thought I was clever, I was intelligent. So he arranged for me to skip even sitting the entrance exam. And he took me straight to secondary school. That was in St. Francis Secondary School in Jirapa in the Upper West region. So that is how come so I didn't go through the normal process. And my father was very, very excited. In fact, this Reverend Father offered to pay my fees. He paid my lorry fare. I mean, he took care of me, to go to school. So my father was very happy when, I went to secondary school. And then when I was in sixth form, of course, you can imagine. So he was very happy.
Now, I don't want us to leave Mom out because, we are here celebrating a good woman, and there are all means, how supportive was Mom then? Well, did she think, look, you're disturbing my daughter, let her stay home, let me marry her off, let me teach her how to cook and stuff? Or was Mom towing the same line, yeah, carry on as far as you can get?
You want me to tell you the truth?
Please tell me the truth.
My mother was kind of typical African woman. She didn't seem to have much say in what her husband decided. You understand?
Yeah,
it's not like us.
Yes.
It's different. She didn't seem to have, well, yes, if you think you should go to secondary school, why not? If it's holidays, you come home. She taught me how to cook, do the household chores. In fact, at a point, my father was not even very happy with that. He told her that, look, listen, I want my daughter to concentrate on her studies. So when she comes, allow her to read.
I see.
You see? But she didn't have so much say as to whether I should go in for education or not. You know, every decision was made by my father. And as I said, she was just the typical African woman who respected and obeyed her husband.
You turned out well, so we thank both of them. But between sixth form, you didn't go straight to university. So what happened in between sixth form and university?
I went to work, you know, after sixth form. I went to work. These are, because actually this is for people to learn, especially the young girls out there.
Yeah.
I did not go straight to sixth form because I got hooked up with a man.
Okay.
And in the process, I had my first child.
Okay.
And then, so I had to go, my father was very mad. So I couldn't go straight to the university. I had to go to work, you know, with my husband, support the child. So I did not go to school, to the university straight away. I spent the time trying to bring up my daughter. And then in the process, had more. So.
But the good thing is you went back to university after things leveled.
You don't want to know when I went to university. I'm sure some of my the listeners out there know me. So you don't want to know when I went to university.
It's important.
But it's important because I always think that it's good lessons to learn.
Yeah.
You don't give up.
You don't give up.
Actually, I went to university at the age of 50.
Impressive.
I went to the City Campus University, and I was still working at ISODEC. And I went for the mature students course at the age of 50.
Impressive.
Yeah, but I said this with pride. Even though that was not the right time for me to go to university at past. But I also say it with pride because I did not give up. And I also think that the time that I spent not going to the university was spent well, because I spent that time bringing up my children.
Yeah.
So when I was entering university, my first daughter had completed university. You see. So, you know, I say it with pride, but I don't think that I would encourage that. There's always time in man's, a human being's life, especially for women, we women. There is a pattern that you should follow. So I would encourage young girls and young women that immediately you finished your SS and you have qualified for university, go straight to the university. Don't waste time, because that is the right time to go. I didn't find studying at the age of 50 very easy. I was still working and going to school. It wasn't easy, you understand? But when you finish SS at the age of 18, 19, 20, you are still fresh, your mind is still there, you go straight to the university. And you complete university, and then if you have any marriage plans, because there too, there's time, the clock is ticking, so if you want to have children, you are advised to have them as early as possible, you know. So yeah, so when you finish SS, you go to university, and you have marriage plans and other things. You can go in marry, but then if you want to continue even after university, you can still do that. But I would encourage all young women to finish university first, get the first degree, at least finish a tertiary education before you start thinking about planning a family.
You've been told. You have been told. And Victoria, being that you're from the north and you are educated, I can't come here and not talk about the problems of FGM. And I know in your own small way you probably campaign against it. Is there a battle that can never be won?
FGM.
Yeah, female genital mutilation.
Yeah, FGM used to be very, very popular among the women where I come from. And when I was young, my mother used to tease me with it. If you joke, I'll send you home for you to have it. And I'm like, what is that? He said, this, if you want to show that you are a woman and you want to be integrated into the society, you have to have that. If you don't have it, they tease you. And I'm like, how can I have this? I can't do that. You know, so I started not liking FGM since I was a child. And I did not understand, even then I didn't understand the implications. All I knew was the pain. You understand? The pain of going through, because my mother said, even after excising you, cutting you up, you have to get up, they clap and you dance. And I couldn't believe it. You understand? So even at that age, I hated it. And as I was growing up and reading more about the implications and all that, no, I was against it, really against it. But I did not come all out, like campaign against it. The young girls in my family, my extended family, I made sure that no, this couldn't happen to them. And I had the opportunity of traveling to Saudi Arabia, and I met, you know, the Somalians, they do it even in the most brutal way that you can ever imagine. They remove the whole thing completely and stitch you up, and they leave this tiny little hole just for you to pass urine. So I came across these young Somali girls who were in Saudi Arabia. They had come to work and then go back home and have this done. And I'm like, no. Do you understand what you are going to go through? And I explained to them, even in childbirth, because they could also see that some of the women who had it were having difficulty in childbirth. So those women that we knew, I used them as an example. I don't know, they went back. I don't know whether they had it or not, but I think that in my small way, I try to preach against it when I come across anybody who was interested in doing it. I try to tell them that, no, I think the best thing for you is to stay whole, because you regret it if you do it.
God made you whole.
Yeah.
God made you whole. Sir, I know you're a farmer, even though maybe not a serious, heavy farmer, but you are into farming. And I just need to know how you got into farming to become actually the programs coordinator for peasant farmers.
Yeah.
Actually, let me take a break here, and then we'll come back and talk about your farming. And bear in mind that this whole event is about the rural woman, and that's what we're going to talk about, the contributions of the rural woman to the world, let alone Ghana. Don't move. Well, thank you very much for staying. At least by now you know that right after you finish SS, just be focused. Make sure you get your pass and go straight to university. Don't look left, don't look right. Just finish it, because it is much, much easier to do your university while you are young. So that's what Auntie Victoria is telling you. But I just want to know how you got into farming.
I never had... I told you I grew up in Tamale.
Yeah.
So I did not grow up in rural farming community. Even though this community in the Tamale that I was staying, they were farmers. And they were my friends. I mean, they were our neighbors. They were nice people, you know. So, but I actually didn't get too much into farming. I started farming when I joined the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. And
let me ask, what's on your farm?
What do I farm?
Yeah, what do you farm?
And soya, and maize.
Okay.
And I have to tell you that I'm not a successful small-scale farmer. I haven't been.
I see.
Yeah.
I can't seem to grow peppers. I need to come and find out why. Because for one reason or the other, anytime I grow peppers, they die. Everything else, tomatoes, beans, everything works.
A backyard garden.
A backyard garden, but my peppers never survive. My peppers never survive.
You need to have time. That is why I haven't been a successful farmer. You need to have time and devote it to your farming. That is why it is so painful and so pathetic that farmers are still not making it, especially small-scale farmers. They are still among the poorest of the poor. Because you spend your day farming in the hot sun. At the end of the day, you are not getting much from it, apart from maybe, of course, maybe feeding yourself. But then you need other things to do. So maybe we'll come to that.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that. Then on the 8th of March, will be dedicated to, I think the celebrations will be done on the 9th, which is on Monday, but it will be dedicated to internationally to the rural woman. It's amazing how we overlook the contributions of the rural woman, but it's immense. You working close to them probably can tell us more.
Yeah, I just started. I have no words to describe what I feel about a typical rural woman. Of course, most rural women are farmers anyway. They farm. If they don't have their own farms, they help their husband on the farm. So they farm. And I'm always, I feel so sad when I want to talk about rural women. They contribute so much. But then they are not recognized. They are not appreciated. They are not appreciated even by their own husbands. Those are the immediate people who should appreciate them. But they don't. They take it for granted. And let me tell you that some men in the rural area marry simply because they want to have farm hands. Oh yeah, they marry 1, 2, 3 wives, not because they just love to be that. They need more hands to work on the farm. So they marry 2, 3, 4 wives so that they will have more. Of course, normally those men have very large farms, not commercial, but large farms, because they need that to feed their many wives and their many children. So the more wives you have, the larger the farm, the more work the woman does. They spend the whole time on the farm. Either they are farm laborers, or they are helping their husband on the farm, or they have their own small plot to work on. They are farming all the time. That aside, you know the normal duties of a woman. And rural women will have children. She will not have it that because I'm a professional farmer or I'm farming, no, I won't have children. A rural woman will have 3, 4, 5 children that she has to take care of, attend to, and her own husband to take care of. Because the husband farms. Yeah. When he comes home from the farm, what does he do? Nothing. He just relaxes on this chair, and then she goes straight to the kitchen, puts up the food. And as I'm telling you, it may be around 6, 7 o'clock. She is now coming home. Maybe there wasn't water in the morning. She must go and fetch water, which is about some meters or even kilometers from the house. She has to go get that water, come and put the pot on fire and cook for the husband and the children. By the time this woman will be settling down to rest, it's about 10, 11. She's up again very early in the morning, see that the husband gets something to put into his stomach, and off they go again to the farm. So, and then they work harder on the farm, more than the men, from my experience, from what I have observed. They work harder on the farm more than the man will maybe plow. So she picks, she weeds, anything that is on the farm that she has to do, she does it. You understand? So at the end of the day, the women do so much of the work and they get so little.
What is this that makes society, turn a blind eye to such an obvious hard work woman who contributes so much?
I don't know if it is the African patrimonial thing that they think that, I wouldn't say that they see women as a second class to them, but they just see women as well, now things are changing, but I'm just talking about very typical issues that won't go away. They are there. Even no matter how much you try, they are there. That the man is the head of the family, and so the woman is there to obey and do whatever the man wants her to do. She doesn't have a voice of her own. You understand? Somebody went like, me ko worry, me pe obi asimi nyoma, nti me ko worry. I was so mad when I heard that statement. Why would you go and marry because you need somebody to wash? You understand? So I think
a life partner because of your laundry.
Your life because you want someone to wash your clothes. I'm telling you that this is a very well-educated young man who made that statement. And I don't want to tell you that my attitude towards that young man has changed since that he made that statement. I know it's somebody I know. Because that is how some men, most men, see women.
Is it because, you see, anytime you hear of like women empowerment and everything, you have a class of women and they're telling them you can do it. Do you think that maybe now we need to add the boys and also let the boys understand that these are your equals and not your subordinates or something, so that you train the men rather than, let the training go towards the men rather than the women?
Yeah, these gender activists try to do that. They try to include the men when they are talking about women's empowerment. They try to educate the men to understand that the woman is also equally entitled to resources, to comfort. Understand? They try to make them understand that the woman will have to share with the men. They listen, yes, it's fine, they listen, but I think I'm really very sorry to say this, but it passes off when it comes back to the house. Very few men, very, very few, and unfortunately, men who you expect should understand this because they are of the level of education, their broad-mindedness, still don't understand, they don't get it. They don't want to accept it. You understand? They don't want to accept that a woman is equally entitled to the resources that are there. So this is what I'm talking about, well-educated, broad-minded men. So what would you think of a very typical rural man? You understand? So it's a big problem. It's a big problem.
Now, on the subject of resources, let me quickly move to access to land, because I know that's one thing which the rural woman, really sometimes struggle with. As in, you're going to acquire land and say, well, where's your husband? Or, what do you mean you need land? And I mean, if you talk about acres and acres of it, it's like, forget it. You're not getting it. How are we going to solve that issue?
Well, bring your husband, as I said. Everybody thinks that is the husband who has the resources. He has the power. So you, the woman, what power do you have to come and even seek land to do whatever you want to do? So you must bring the power behind you. A friend of mine, I don't know if I can deviate a bit.
Yes, of course.
Of my age, we are around the same age group. She was going to London to visit her children and see her grandchildren. When she went, she applied for the visa. She was refused initially because she stated on her form that she was married, but there was nothing showing that she was married. They refused the visa until her husband wrote a letter confirming that, yes, this is my wife, I'm on retirement, and she's going to visit our children, before she was given the visa. Just think about it. This is true life. I just heard it last night. She got back from London last night, and that is what she told me. You understand? Just think about it. I'm married, so I have to bring my husband, show you that, yes, I'm married. A woman of my age, what would she be going to do in London that you need to verify that she is married? You understand? Just think about it. You see? So those are the things. So if a woman goes to seek land, acres and acres of land, the first thing they are thinking about is where is she going to get the money to pay me? Because they think women don't have that money. And actually true, because they have made sure to deprive women of money, resources. So it is in order that if a woman goes to seek land, the first thing that they will be thinking about is, how is she going to pay me? Where is her husband? You understand? Because it's the husband who has the money to pay. Because they made sure that women lack resources. You understand? So that is one of the reasons why they are always looking for a man. Secondly, they think that a woman who is not married, you understand, is not stable. You see where I'm coming from. I'm trying to tell you that they think that a woman who has no man behind her is not stable. I don't want to use any derogatory word. You understand?
Will society ever change, or?
Yeah.
It will?
Yeah. You see, so they always want to see a man. The man is the one who will show his face, and that will give some power.
Well, you think society will ever change this thinking?
Oh yes, but there's yeah. It will take some time. I think that it is something that is there, but there's nothing that that cannot be changed. A lot of changes have taken place.
That's fact.
A lot of change. Our worldview has changed, and with the Western influence, a lot of things are changing, and you know, human rights issues, women's rights issues, all this campaigning about women's rights. Yeah, they are making their mark, and I think that there will be a change in the next few generations to come.
I'm going to take a break here, and when we come back, we'll look at the challenges generally of what peasant farmers have. Because you know, I think about 70 to 80% of every plate of food is contributed by the peasant farmer. Don't move. Well, thank you very much for staying, and the challenges of the peasant farmer. Talking to Victoria Adongo. Victoria, I mean, this is well within your jurisdiction. What are the challenges of the peasant farmer?
The peasant farmer?
Yes.
A lot of challenges. We've just talked about access to land. And the most challenging is that is the high cost of input, factors of production, as compared to the end benefits to the farmer. What I'm talking about is that just let's assume that you have the land. You need to plow the land. You need to prepare the land. We are trying to move away from the hoe as we used to do.
Yeah.
We say we are going into mechanized farming. So you will need a tractor to prepare the land for you. Now, a tractor services now. The last time I checked is over 30 Ghana cedis per acre.
Okay.
That is one thing. Then we have the issue of fertilizer. I know that we have talked so much on fertilizer. We have asked for subsidy. The government has come up with some subsidies. Now, why do we need subsidy, fertilizer? Because fertilizer is supposed to enrich the soil, to make the soil fertile. And then if the soil is fertile, all things being equal, you practice the right agronomic practices, you are expected to get higher yield, good production, higher yield. So if you get higher yield, it means that you will have enough to eat at home, feed yourself, and some to sell. And you sell, make money to take care of some of your social responsibilities, social expenses like health care, education, other things. So you need fertilizer to enrich the soil. Fertilizer is expensive. I don't know what the current market price of fertilizer is, but during the last year crop, it was ranging from 100 to 120 for the very common one. That is one. You need a tractor to plow, you need fertilizer. Fertilizer is expensive. You need to work on the farm, so you need labor, because you need to weed the farm. So you need labor. Labor is scarce these days because everybody has his own farm that he wants to work with. So if you need to work on your farm, you need extra hands, you have to pay for the labor. And that labor may be costing maybe 20 cedis per day. That is one. Then you will need to pesticides to spray on your crop to protect it from insects.
I'm panicking, but now all your profit is gone.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, you use so much in producing, but then you sell and you get so little. It's so marginal that you cannot do much with it.
Well, what inspires them to go on? I mean, because the margins are so, disheartening that you might not want to continue, but you tend to find out they still keep on plowing their own 2-acre land, their own 3-acre land, they just keep it and carry on going. What keeps them going?
Yeah, to begin with, rural farmers are rural farmers. They have been born into farming, and that is all they know. That is their means of livelihood. So they cannot divert. Of course, there are some things happening now. Some have added other things to farming, like some micro enterprises, selling, petty thing, trading, just to add up to what they do. But basically, that is what they do. That is how their life is.
Culture.
You understand? So they cannot do anything else. Besides, we have to eat. If all farmers decide that, okay, we are not making money, so we won't farm, what will happen? Because the country is being fed by small-scale farmers, not large commercial farmers. How many are there? It's the small-scale farmers who feed the country. You understand? So they cannot say they'll stop farming. They'll continue. But now we are working so hard. Farmers are trying to change, we try to, with the support of the government, which we think is not coming fast enough. Let me go back to the fertilizer subsidy. We have been asking for subsidies for fertilizer. Gratefully enough, the government came up to subsidize fertilizer. And that was 2008. And between 2008 till 2014, it was, well, let's say it was fairly good. There was increase in production. Some farmers were beginning to make it. 2014, all of a sudden, this fertilizer, subsidized fertilizer, didn't come. So farmers had to go back and buy from the open market, 100 to 120 per bag. As if that is not enough, we have called again that the subsidized fertilizer should come back. The government assured us that yes, they did not intend to withdraw the subsidy on fertilizer. They will surely bring it back. Today they announced that the subsidized fertilizer is back. They have imported about 180,000 metric tons of subsidized fertilizer. But what has happened? The subsidy has reduced to 20%. Now, the world price of, yeah.
From what was it originally?
It was 50.
50, oh.
No, it was 50. Then they came down to 30, subsidizing between 25–30%. Now today, they are subsidizing only 20%. Now look at what is happening. The world price of fertilizer has shot up. I didn't check today, but the world price of fertilizer has shot up. So if the cost of fertilizer is high, let's just take it as 120, and you are subsidizing only 20%. What are you doing? Nothing. I mean, it's almost like you are not subsidizing. How much is 20% of 120? So we are getting back to square one until the government actually sits up and thinks about it. You understand? Because we were lucky last year that there wasn't a food shortage because of the withdrawal of the subsidy. We didn't experience such a food shortage.
Because they were expecting it, because I know President farmers complained that there might be a shortage.
Yes. Yeah. But it didn't show up so much. But if you are subsidizing only 20%, it's not good enough. It is not good enough.
How could we make the peasant farmer have enough to look after him or herself, and also make sure the food prices on the market don't get too expensive, so that we all win? Is there a balance?
You know, I'm a farmer. I work with farmers. And when I go to the market, I retail rice, local rice, rice produced in Ghana. I retail rice. Each time I go to buy, the price is higher. I'm compelled to also increase. You understand? People are complaining. Why this is produced here? Why is it so expensive? Then if that be the case, I might as well go and buy the imported rice. Yeah. But then, how can we be competitive when you are putting so much into rice production? You need your profit. You need to make, even no matter how marginal it is. So if you work your mathematics, your cost-benefit analysis, at the end of the day, you need to increase food price, which is not good enough. So what we should be doing, what the government should be doing, and I don't think it is too much to ask. This is Africa. You understand? This is not France. It's not America. And if it is so, France are subsidizing their farmers. America is terribly subsidizing them. Even if they pay you to grow and throw away. You understand? Then they come and dump it on us here. Eat. Meanwhile, they are subsidizing their farmers just to grow, grow, grow. I just went to the States. That was just last October. I was in the States on a talking tour. And we went to meet Microsoft. We went to Microsoft to talk, and I made a presentation. And I was talking about these subsidies. And they were shocked. They said, look, American farmers are subsidized to a fault. So why can't our government just subsidize us? You understand? It is not too much to ask. I don't think it is too much to ask that the government should continue to subsidize most of the factors of production. Help us to produce more. And if we are able to produce more and it's subsidized, naturally the price of food will come down so that every Ghanaian will be able to. It is not pleasant going to the market and complaining the cost of rice. I sell rice outside there. People are not buying. When they come and they ask, they're like, no, it's expensive. Why is it expensive? But you know, I'm just making 2 cedis from it. 2 cedis. The farmer has to make his money. And I am even buying directly from the farmer. So if the middleman goes to buy from the farmer and he also goes to sell to another person, at the end of the day, how much do you think the retailer will sell it? So it's expensive. So the one first thing is that I think that the government should consider it seriously, that as much as possible, the government should support the farmers with mechanization, the fertilizer, you know, everything that goes into production. Not only that, even the value chain, looking at processing. Our rice is not competitive. Why? It's poorly milled. You should be looking at good milling machines that will produce good long grain rice, because we have been spoilt by the importation of American and Malaysian perfume long grain rice. So we have to go along, bring in the material that can help the farmers to package their rice. You understand? Provide the market.
Sure, that's all time would allow, but that's your camera there. So look in there and tell the rural woman on International Day some encouraging message. It's brief, just 20 seconds.
Thank you.
So if you use that camera, then you give your message.
Oh, well, Rural Women's Day, first of all, I would like to use this platform to say Ayuko so many times to the rural women. They are doing so much for men and women in this country. So I will use this platform to extend my greetings to the rural women first, and then to women, especially women activists who are fighting to give equality, I would say, to women, to make the voice of women heard, to enable women to be empowered. You understand? I myself, I know I'm going back, but I think it's very important, because I myself has been mentored by women activists, women gender activists. I listen to them, I talk to them, I follow their life. And that is what has brought me to this point. When I finished university, I went straight to do my master's with 3 women that I'm much older than them, but I admired them and I followed their path. I don't know, I can't mention their names here, but
you can. It's a good news. Give me the names.
Sorry?
Give me the names.
I'll mention their names, because I'm very happy
of course,
that I'm given this opportunity.
Good.
They are Professor George Chikata, Abantu director, Miss Rose Mensah-Kutin, Mrs. Rose, Miss MS Rose Mensah-Kutin, and then Esther Ofe-Abuaji. These are 3 women who came across me. I met them in the course of my work in ISODEC, and I told myself that at that time, I didn't have a degree. I told myself that these are the women that when I was growing up, I wanted to be like.
And it wasn't too late.
And I didn't get it. So now that I have come across these women, I will have to get there. I haven't quite gotten there, because I haven't reached there. But I'm working with them.
Well, thank you very, very much, folks. You see, that's why you have to tune into Personality Profile every Friday, and it will be repeated on Saturday right after News File. You can't miss this program, because you're always going to walk away better than you tuned in. Folks, until I come to you again next Friday with a different personality, have a beautiful weekend, and thank you very much.
Thank you.